time. Hopefully it loads up and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. Do you
yeah,
want to pull it up on like your iPad or something, Cayman? See if you
yeah. I'm
can
just
get it.
gonna I'm just gonna check it on my phone quickly if it's live.
Nice. Cause yo, I need my phone because I'm looking at the slides using that.
Yeah, no worries. I'll just check it right now. Yeah, it says
Cause
we
bro,
are
like it.
live. It says we're live.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to pull it up on
Yeah,
like
there
your
we go.
iPad or something?
Yeah, it's working.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cooking, bro. Cooking.
yeah. Okay, perfect.
Bro, what is Stark doing, bro?
Mhm.
I'm zooming in
Okay.
on I can't access my laptop, so
Yeah,
Okay, okay. No worries, bro. No problem.
like
All
that.
right,
all good.
boys. Well, I guess we can always just sort of start the timestamp from here. So
Yeah,
what's up, hey man? What's up, Stark? Welcome back to the FPL Roundtable podcast. How we doing, boys?
I'm doing fantastic, mate. How are you?
All right, man. Yo, Stark, bro, you doing all right or what?
Yeah, man, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's like a pretty weird week. I didn't end up getting a green arrow this week, so a little bit disappointed on the stuff from last week.
I'm still holding strong, guys, man. I'm still surviving on that top 5K hill. Managed to retain that 4K rank. I don't know how. It's not me, guys. It's Lord. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're cooking.
yeah, I'm cooking still. So yeah.
Facts, bro. How we feeling, Stark? Did you end up getting a green or a red?
Green Arrow.
Green arrow, bro. Damn, bro, you're cooking again, bro. I gotta step up, man. I'm like legging the pod behind, bro. All right, like why don't we just jump straight into the discussion, right? So we had a graphic. This is from Rob T FPL, and is looking at the projected goal involvement of all players. This was before Game Week 10 started. So I'm just curious to see like what your guys' thoughts are on like the data that we can see on screen. So just like some early thoughts from my perspective. Just looking at the data is like how high like Palmer is. We see that the drop off between Palmer and Salah isn't really that large. Then we can also see that like the difference between Salah and Saka is like at least 2 or 3 goals. So that makes sense. Even when you're watching the games, like Saka's just not as direct of a threat as Salah is. He's more of like the combo threat. A couple of things that sort of stood out is like how high Bowen is. Given that he just took the pen, I think that may have just skewed the data. So he's actually jumped, I think, from like mid table from like 4 weeks ago to like sort of upper mid table now. We can see how high like even Johnson, like the fact Johnson is ahead of Solanke is surprising to me. The fact that he's ahead of Watkins is insane to me as well. So just goes to show you how good of the attack, like the bookmakers think Spurs attack is. Um, those are just like my quick thoughts. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on it?
I take these things with a pinch of salt. As you know, I'm not. I like to strike a balance between analyzing data and analyzing the game with my eyes and applying context of a team situation. So after Haaland's fast and furious start, I'm sure the expected goals for the rest of the season would have been off the charts. Now, the data, I'd say, is a bit of regression to the norm. Um, and can this table and this chart predict Haaland to miss these big chances that he's missed in the previous few game weeks? No. So ultimately, I take these things with a pinch of salt. But I understand, obviously, Kanji's got a more heavily approach towards analytics. So
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's projecting Holland to be at like 24 goals for the rest of the season. Do you think that's pretty accurate or no?
I think this is the so obviously from my knowledge of betting, it's all in favour of what odds they put out in order to either provide a profit for themselves and to draw customers in to back something. So the goalposts are always changing, and how they change those goalposts is the context they analyze. So Man City's current situation without Rodri, KDB is still not there yet. They're struggling on the transition because they simply take a lot of risks. So if your team takes a lot of risks, you're going to be vulnerable at the back. And Haaland just doesn't seem himself at the moment. However, yeah, we'll get onto Haaland, I'm sure, in the future. But I just don't think this. Like I said, it's good to see because you look and you see obviously Salah's there, Saka's there, Palmer's there, and Bumo's there. So obviously you get an idea. So I just like to back it up with my eye test and contextual analysis.
Yeah. So, Cayman, just an interesting point around like the second tier of like the strikers. We have like Havertz, Isak. Walk-in, Solanke, Jackson, all in that like second tier of strikers we could get if we go down from Holland. So are you like, does it surprise you to see Havertz at the top of that?
I'm not surprised with Havertz. I think Arsenal's biggest threat is Havertz, and I think I've been saying that from very beginning of the season. It's just that the price bracket that he's been put in, which is 8 million, it's really I struggled to have him in my team because I went with the Salah and Holland draft. So to manage that structure at the same time have a 8 million striker is difficult, and at the same time I wanted to go with Isaac. So you can't have two 8 million strikers and have Haaland. That's just too much money in forward position. So I think Havertz, I'm not surprised. I do think that he's going to rack up points. I wouldn't be shocked if he matches Saka, to be honest. So what surprised me is though is the fact that Foden is so high. I mean, based on what we've seen so far and Pep Roulette, I mean, I don't know if they take into these betting odds and whatnot. Do they take into consideration of
Yeah,
rotations
yeah.
and things like that?
Yeah, they take into account the amount of minutes that a player is gonna play. Yeah.
So in that case, why would Foden be ahead of Mbemo, Havertz, Isaac? These are 90 minutes, man. Like these are talismanic, man. Why would Foden, someone that's essentially a rotation player, be that highly? I don't know.
because
Well, they're factoring in the
the bookies have to play it out as if he's going to play the way he has been playing for the rest of the season. So if like they have to factor in money, money's involved. This is my issue with this because this is FPL we're playing, whereas this is regarding a bookies. Their main focus is money. So in order to not lose money, if they give ridiculous odds to Foden and he continues to get these minutes, they're going to lose money. Do you know what I'm saying? So they have to think about that when they do these odds. And it's like if Foden continues to play the minutes he's playing, then he's going to get returns because he's a great player. He proved it last season. He's getting in good positions. He's even taken corners for City. And if KDB continues to struggle, then Foden's going to get more minutes. So that's
yeah.
why they're going to project that and give odds that are fair to customers and make sure they don't take a lot of cash loss.
Okay, so
Yeah,
even
exactly. So
yeah, so just to add on to that point, even if Foden gets the minutes that he's getting right now, are we sure that he's going to outscore Mbemo
yes.
this season? Fair
Yeah,
enough.
because I think if you factor in like the quality of the team,
Mm.
and you also factor in the quality of the player, it just makes sense. At least to my from my side. Come in like Holland can't get all this GA without having service from players, right?
Fair enough.
Mm.
It's just that
No,
they
I
didn't. Yeah.
don't know about Mbumo though. He's overachieving his expected his XG like ridiculously. So where he's done that, I know Haaland did it at the start, and then there's been regression since. But it's like Haaland's flip flop to the extreme. Like he's overachieved and now he's underachieving ridiculously. If Mbumo just like kind of like plateaus and still ticks along, gets pens, I can see him being very close to Foden. So the price you
Mm.
save in going for Mbumo as opposed to Foden, with obviously the appeal of pens and some set pieces, I think I'd just go Mbumo over Foden. To be honest, the pet
Yeah,
roulette's not worth.
that's exactly what
Would
you
you
can
not
see
put
in like
Bowen in that
the
same conversation if they had a better manager though, in the same bracket as Mbemo? Because Bowen is on now on pens as well, and he's if not like same quality of player, like talismanic player, has similar type of shots volume, if not better. Like Bowen is a quality player.
Is he on pens though, or is it just
He
taking Paqueta's off?
oh oh that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
mm. Yeah, I assume that he takes the pens when Paqueta's not on the pitch, but if Paqueta's playing more minutes and easier fixtures, that decreases the appeal of Bowen. So let's just keep an eye on it. That was a great
Mm.
question. One more thing I wanted to bring up is like where the value strikers are in this tier. So if we sort of look at how they're projecting the strikers that are like 6.5 and below, they actually have Cunha at the top, followed by Raul and then Welbeck. And then on if you go to the slide on the right, you'll be able to see like Wissa is there, Vardy is there, Larson is below them, DCL's below all of those guys. So it's just really interesting to see like how they organize that. And so it's basically taking some sort of value from that. Like Cunha being priced at 6.5 relative to those guys is like kind of makes sense relative to what the bookmaker odds are like. And then Raul is probably the next best option according to the projected GA in terms of, like, value for money. Like, what do you guys think of that?
Are we getting into the cheap striker debate now? Yeah.
No, I think we
Just like
should
a
save
thought,
it for
just
the.
a
No,
thought.
I think we should save it for the next section. We'll come back to this anyways, but I think we have a separate section where we cover the cheap strikers. So, should we move to the next section, Kanji?
Yeah, no problem, no problem, let's move on, yeah. It was just, like, an interesting point I wanted to bring up, I just noticed it's great to see, like, how they projected it out, but This is probably the most interesting section. I think we're going to be reviewing this every single week. We'll always come back to this slide, which is going to be our captaincy and premium matrix. Now, this is the perfect slide for us to be looking. We took the top graphic from Lego Mane from Twitter, and then we took the bottom statistics from Fantasy Football Scout, which we created our own stats table. So it's interesting to see the expected goal involvement of the big hitters. It's interesting to see like who are the players that we're targeting. It's obviously that like Holland is at the top in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement. Closely followed behind, you have Saka, actually ahead of Salah, which is pretty surprising. And then you have Isak and Son sort of picking up the rear. So curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this.
I just want to highlight quickly for the people watching on YouTube, because I remember looking at this myself on X. I think the darker a pink / purple, which means in his opinion is more optimal, he's favouring those captains, whereas the lighter shade pink, he's obviously less likely to captain, right? For the chart, like the darker the colour, the more he favours them for captaincy. I think this week in isolation is the next 2 weeks is very interesting in terms of captaincy, and I think there's going to be big swings in rank. There's a lot of people moving off of Haaland this week, last week, and obviously that puts you in a predicament where you go, who do I captain this week? Son, Salah. People are captaining Bumo against Bournemouth at home. People are captaining Fernandes at home against Leicester. People are going to maybe even captain Cunha at home against Southampton. So here's the question I have for you guys. If you don't own Haaland, so Kanji, who are you going to captain this week? Is it Son with the minutes risk?
Yeah, so like that's actually a $1 million question. I think that like we have to go and watch what happens with Spurs in midweek in Europa League, but I'm assuming Son won't be included. The question is like how many minutes do you expect from Son? Now, I think that if Son is going to be playing 55 minutes last week, I would only expect him to play 65, let's say 70 minutes tops this week. So is that enough for him to become the optimal captain if you don't have Salah or Holland? I think it depends if you have any other alternatives. Like I think if you have Salah at home to Aston Villa, I know it's a tough fixture, but given Liverpool's form, like we generally look like the best team in all of Europe. And so I think like Liverpool and Barca are just really hot. They're in form right now. So Captain Salah is never going to be a mistake, I would say, especially at home. But if Son had more than 70 minutes, I would actually lean towards Son. But because he's at 70, I would still prefer Salah over him. But if you have neither of them, then I think Son is like the next best option. But I think the fact that we don't have any clarity on minutes, so we have to wait for what happens on the press conferences to hear more updates on the optimism that the coach has in terms of Son's minutes. I think it actually favor like a Cunha captaincy, or honestly, like I currently have my bus captain on Brennan Johnson, but that's something we can get to later on.
Oh, your bus. So on your bus team, Johnson's your captain. Brennan
Yeah, he
Johnson.
is. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Brennan.
fair.
I mean, I'm calling him Sadio Mane, but yeah, Brennan Johnson works too.
Wait,
Ca-
so hey man, you've got
Yeah.
Haaland, Salah, and Palmer. Who are you going for?
Before I answer the question, I do want to mention, Thinking Cap mentioned in the chat that Son did travel to Turkey, so no more or Richie versus Galatasaray. So just wanted to add that. Would that change your mind, Kanji, in regards to your captaincy choice?
I mean, I'm not captaining Son either way, so I'm just curious to see what Brennan's minutes are in
Fair enough.
Europa.
Fair enough. Okay, so in regards to my captaincy this week, obviously I have the luxury of captaining either Haaland or Salah. It's one of those situations where I've already planned my captaincy out quite a well ahead of time. And to start the season, my captaincy was going to be rotating between Salah and Haaland, and to this day it hasn't changed. I haven't really gone anywhere else. However, when I saw what Palmer did versus Brighton, that definitely changed my thinking, and I had to add another player into that captaincy rotation if I wanted to be completely trust. Like if you were to trust any player to captain, it will be those three for me. The other captaincy options are good and a bit punty in my opinion. So if you're captaining Cunha, it's a bit punty. If you're captaining, I don't know, Son, even that I would consider a bit risky. But if you want to win FPL, you have to take those chances. So I don't fault anyone for it. It's just that I think I want to play safe right now because it's too early in the season, and I want to take those risks during the middle of the, say, I don't know, maybe December time and whatnot. And when, say, for example, Haaland or Salah has difficult fixtures and the captaincy is a bit more open, that's when I can take a bit more risk. But for now, I want to keep that rotation. So I'm going to stick with this week for Haaland, just simply because I already had it planned out, and I don't want to let recency bias dictate my decision making, because I do have to take into consideration the fact that KDB has played some minutes and there's a potential that he's going to be back. Not only that, Haaland is starving for a goal, and Brighton is a perfect opponent who loves to press, love to play high line. So Haaland will have a joy in getting those spaces. Now, whether he finishes chances or not, that's a different story. But yeah,
Yeah, I think this week is dependent on what kind of manager you are and what approach you have, what structure you're in. So it's going to be very swing. It's going to be interesting. Me personally, my armband's on Haaland, uh, but I feel like if I didn't have Haaland, I'm honest. People might laugh at this, but I would genuinely be tempted by Cunha as a differential, but it's because Wolves create chaos ball. Like I never expected Wolves to bring an end-to-end game out of Crystal Palace. I kind of have Palace currently as a bit of a rigid team fighting for results and trying to scrape and get by. So the fact that that was an end-to-end 2-2, even the Chelsea game, the 5-2, the first half against Villa, very end-to-end, high press, aggressive. So if they can eke that out of Southampton, and it could go the opposite way. It could be a relegation battle, tight game, want the 3 points. But I just feel like if Wolves get something in that game, Cunha's going to be there and he's going to get 3 bonus points, arguably, and he's on pens. He's got so many routes to points. So I wouldn't put anyone off it. He wouldn't be my first choice, but I would certainly not laugh at someone captaining Cunha this week.
Yeah, he also has like the highest baseline bonus of any striker in the game. So as long as he gets one return, he's probably going to pick up like 8 or 9 points. So that's the advantage of going for Cunha. Plus, he's on pens, right? So that's a great alternative. He is actually my second choice. So it really depends on the minutes that we see from Spurs in Europa. But
can
this
I
is
just ask
like
one
the whole.
question, Kanji, in regards to the premium assets? How would you rank the captaincy for this week? Because this is the premium captaincy matrix, so it would be ideal for the
Mm,
viewers. How would you rank it for this week?
oof. I think, given the fact that Brighton played really well versus Liverpool in the first half, like we looked really disjointed. Like we didn't really create any chances. Like I didn't really see Salah that involved in the first half. I rewatched the game after we did our match of the day challenge, and like it was pretty poor performance for Liverpool in general. And Man City have been playing very poorly, so I don't really expect Man City to play that great, especially away from home. I would back Brighton to score, but I still think that given Brighton, they'll have a high line. I think Holland will still get his chances. And like even though Holland hasn't been getting many goals, the XG is there for him. The service will be there. And like over the larger sample size, we know Holland has a very good conversion rate. So you just have a player that's out of form at the current time, but he will get chances. So it's up to you whether you want to back him or not. Complete 50-50. If I had both, I'd captain Salah just based on form because it's a 50-50 week. But on the fixture alone, if it was at home, I would be probably backing Holland, but it's not. So on a 50-50, I'll back the guy that's in form and the guy that's at home. So for me, it's Salah first, Holland second, and then I think from there, there's like a drop off to everybody else. I think I'd actually put Bruno third. So
Fair enough. Stark, yourself?
Um, Manager dependent. It's like better team right now, Liverpool. Um, they're just gelling better. They've been in a better situation. So obviously Salah, if you prefer that for your captain, Salah appeals more. But if you focus more on the fixture in terms of the system and how Haaland will operate against that system, I think he'll find more joy than Salah. And Brighton come to play, press, aggressive, which I think they will because City are vulnerable. I think City have still got the players to beat that press. Their quality. They're a better team than Chelsea, right? And look what we did to Brighton. We were beating their press. Enzo was whipping it over the top. Jackson Palmer were getting in behind so many times. I can just see Haaland definitely getting big chances. And I just hope this time that with his ability, he puts the ball in the back of the net. It's been a bit of a freak couple of weeks with him missing these chances. So I'm going to keep the faith. I think there's an element of game theory as well. Like if you sell Haaland now for Salah, you're kind of accepting defeat and that you kind of won't bridge the gap between the Salah owners already. Whereas if you keep the faith with Haaland for 2 more weeks against Brighton and Spurs, which is 2 good teams for him, you can kind of edge back those points. So that's the strategy I'm going to take. And I'm going to hope that Haaland punishes those sellers. Salah's
Can I
definitely.
yeah,
just
sorry.
can I just add on to
Yeah.
that point? I think we could apply the similar theory that with what happened with Solanke. Solanke, we all said, what's happening? He's playing CDM. Oh, he's not playing striker position. He's not getting those XG that he was getting before. He's not taking shots. All of a sudden, come Villa, he gets a brace, right? So it's not out of this world to say that Haaland could do the same thing. So if I had to rank it in terms of the premium captaincy matrix, in terms of the top three out of this list, I'd have Haaland, Salah, and Son. But yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Yeah, that's pretty fair. I think I'm just like cooler on City in general. Like, uh, I just want to be avoiding them at all costs, really, for the most part. Defensively, they're horrendous. The way they've been playing compared to their usual standards in previous years is they're just a shadow of their former self. So if there's a 50-50, I'm just avoiding Man City personally.
Yeah, just
But that's
lastly,
like my own bias.
as well, there's a bit of gambler's fallacy there as well, in the sense that how many times do you expect Haaland to repeatedly get this many big chances and not put the ball in the back of the net? So for me, it's a bit like, surely it can't happen again. Something's got to change. But obviously, that has no impact on the future results. So it's gambler's fallacy,
Yeah.
really.
Well, the next question to ask you guys, like given that both of you guys still own Holland, is are you going to be looking to sell? And if you are, when is the jump off point? Because for me, I felt like the jump off point was last week. And now it's like, I think given that he has Brighton and he would be selling to one of like, Watkins or Isak and Jackson, they really don't have a good entry point this week. So it'd probably be like a game week 12. But even in that fixture against Spurs, man, like you have Romero that's probably going to be fit, but Van de Ven could be a doubt. Like, I don't know, man. Like it might even be a hold in 12 as well. But obviously Salah has Southampton that week, so I think you could just prioritize him, given that Palmer is a potential doubt as well, and say, hey, I want Salah for captaincy in 12. So I'd assume 12 would be the week you guys would jump off, right? If you don't have Salah.
I'm definitely keeping Haaland this week. As I said, I don't want to admit defeat just yet. If Salah blanks against Liverpool and Haaland scores a hat-trick, I've gained all the points back on those who have just owned Salah. So I'm going to play it out, play it by ear, international break. Obviously, if the situation gets worse, Isak has a great entry point. He plays West Ham. So it's a simple case of Haaland to Isak and then Foden to Salah. And Salah has Southampton. So the appeal's then in game week 12. But at the same time, if KDB's back and Romero and Van de Ven are out still, I might be tempted to keep him for one more week. So I'm going to keep my powder dry, as they say. I wouldn't be selling them this week.
If I would be selling Haaland, I've made my bed with him. I built a structure to keep him long term. If I'm being honest, it's just that it's a matter of, it's similar to what happened. What people were saying to Salah. People were talking about Salah in game week 8 when they were loading up on City assets like Foden and Haaland for their great fixture run, and they were saying, yeah, you can't have both. You have to choose one, and they were dropping Salah for Haaland. So I just think for a player such as Haaland and Salah, I want to give them, for example, we got I don't know, a Eze or a Bruno, we give them 3 weeks, right? For a player like Salah and Haaland, I want to give them at least 5 or 6 weeks, right? And I do understand why Haaland didn't perform versus particular teams, such as, for example, Fulham and Newcastle. Like on paper, I understood why. But for example, the blank versus Wolves and Southampton, obviously unacceptable. And then obviously recently versus Bournemouth too. So I want to give him 1 or 2 more games, and then I'm going to decide on whether to come off or not. That's just where I am at the moment.
The game
Cool.
week
Is there
12
anything else?
appeal. Sorry, the game week 12 appeal for Salah is especially the fact that Salah's not going with Egypt, so he's going to get 2 weeks rest, isn't he? So that's why in game week 12 it makes more sense to me if it falls into place, because the Isak entry point, even Jackson, if you like Jackson, it's a great entry point against Leicester. Although the 4 yellow cards do put me off, and I feel like you could get a talisman in Cunha who's going to get 90 minutes in this busy period. But yeah, we'll touch on strikers later on.
Yeah, 100%. Is there anything else to discuss on the captaincy matrix slide?
Game week 12 is a big one, I think, as well. Game week 12
Mm.
is massive. If you think about it, a lot of people are going to be no Haaland for sure that week. But also there's a big 50-50 decision for owners who probably own both Salah and Palmer. So if Palmer's back fit, again, that's going to be a swing week. So if you go Palmer, for example, and Palmer hauls and Salah blanks and people go Salah, again, this is why nailing captaincy is going to be very important in the next coming weeks. It's going to provide big swings.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
think the way that like Liverpool are playing, and Salah just has stronger pedigree than Palmer, better history. I think Salah's EO will be higher regardless. I think regardless of the situation, if Palmer plays this week or not, I still think Salah will be higher, like higher percentage captain and higher EO.
That's recency bias, though. I think.
That's how I feel managers are though.
But that's where we come in, right? That's where the engaged managers need to gain an edge on the field, in my opinion. So, for example, this week, people that have Salah and Haaland, for example, in the top 100K, most likely they will go for the Salah captain. And those who are brave enough, right? It does take brave because Haaland blanked the last 5 games. It does take some sort of balls to captain Haaland when you know that he's been shambolic. Like we've
Yeah,
been on spaces and people are talking about, oh no, I don't know about Haaland. Oh, Salah is on form. Look at him in Champions League. Look at what he done the last 2 games. With all due respect, Villa are not a bottom feeder team. Like they are contending for top four, right? I understand what Spurs did to them, but that doesn't mean the same thing is going to happen versus Liverpool. Every game is different. Every scenario is different, so we can't just judge them all at the same. Yeah,
yeah, I
I think
agree. I wouldn't want to like choose to captain Palmer. That's why I had Son in my structure. Like, but I'm really jealous of those people that have Bruno. Like people that have Bruno are gonna feast this week. Like you have like the best differential cap in the game. So
I think
jealous. I was hoping
I
that would
think
be Son.
I think originally people would not even think about captaining Bruno versus Ipswich. However, if Bruno gets a double-digit haul this week, trust me, people will start thinking about captaining him next game week against Ipswich. Like he'll start being talked about.
Yeah, you know what's funny though? Like Leicester is easier to play against for me than Ipswich. Like I rate Ipswich as a better team. So it's like if
They've
you
got,
do it, I think you should do it now.
they've got a lot of injuries though, Ipswich. Like Calvin Phillips as well will miss out due to the suspension. So and I feel like they take more risks. I feel like Steve Cooper's a bit more defensively minded than McKenna.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you guys have any like thoughts on like Watkins versus Isak from game week 12 onwards?
Yeah, originally I was Watkins, but recently I've come to the conclusion that I think Isak's the more optimal pick due to 90 minutes, no Champions League football, and that comes down to the period we're coming into, which is Christmas, where games come thick and fast. You look at Villa tonight; they lost to Club Bruges,
Mhm.
and I just think their schedule is gonna have an impact on them, like it did Newcastle last season. So I'd definitely
Wow.
take Isak on pens. They've got great fixtures as well. But there is a way you can kind of go Watkins in 13 or next week and then bring Isak in 15. So you can kind of get like a larger chunk of better fixtures overall, and you would miss the Liverpool one for Isak. I know a lot of managers are going to take that approach.
Yeah, that's a good approach. Yeah, I think that point you mentioned where you compare last year's Newcastle to this year's Aston Villa, that's a really good point. I thought that's really smart. Just because like now their squad's gonna be really stretched. Rodgers will probably be asked to play twice a week. Watkins the same. I wonder if they'll be playing 90s in both comps. Like I think there will be rotation in minutes risk and management, especially over the Christmas period. That's a great point actually. I think we
uh,
can move on to the next slide. Unless you have something to add,
no, that's fine.
you know?
That's okay. You guys covered it all. I think we spent too long,
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah. So
You know
this is
what? If we
fixtures.
move on, yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
This is the fixtures, and obviously here is also a non-penalty XGI for game week 6 to 10. We can talk about both, but yeah, let's discuss the fixtures first.
Yeah, so we sort of just looked through this in the previous one, but this gives you like a bird's eye view of like all the different teams and the fixtures coming up. I still really like the Newcastle fixtures, like, especially that entry point from game week 12. Like if Palmer's out and I don't own Salah, I will probably captain Isak. That's how much I really like that entry point in 12 for him. I really like the fixtures for Bournemouth going forward. It's just a sea of green. Semenya owners must be so excited, but you have to have a word of caution because he has 4 yellow cards, but he cooked Man City. I'm expecting him to do the same. I don't think he'll be on many people's benches very often. The Wolves fixtures look incredible for both Aid Nuri and Cunha, as well as Strand Larson as well. Aid Nuri is also on 4 yellow cards, something to keep in mind. You can see the Brentford fixtures kind of turn in game week 14. They have a really good fixture in game week 13 where they're at home to another newly promoted side, and Bumo has been killing the newly promoted sides at home. So he's a potential cap station on 13. But after that, there is a potential like set of fixtures to actually go against Bumo. Have you guys considered or added that to any of your plans or no?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at Bowen as I was talking about him earlier. I was kind of surprised to see him that high, but at the same time, I'm happy that he's high because it does make sense. Because I think if he does get pen, his appeal is just as high as Mbima, if not better, right? I think West Ham, the issue isn't the players right now, in my opinion. I think they have good personnel. I rate Kudus so highly. I would love to have him at United. The problem isn't the players, the problem is the manager and the system that he's playing, and the defense is extremely poor. So when you're already, for example, when you're already going down 1-0, 2-0, and you're chasing the whole game, players are already demotivated and they don't want to go all out. They give up on a game. And that's the issue with West Ham. So I'm hoping by the time I jump on him by game week, I don't know, 14, 15 for West Ham, when the fixture is like Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton, my goodness, amazing fixture. I would love to have at least one asset from West Ham. And my number one target is Bowen. The problem I have is the manager. If that manager is not sacked by then, I don't even know if I'll target those fixtures.
Yeah, that's a
So
fair point. I think that type of transfer of doing Mbumo to Bowen is like it's a luxury move. It's similar to those managers that did like Saka to Son or Saka to Foden, then eventually plan to do him back to Saka. Like those are luxury transfers. So it's not like must moves. Because I still think Mbumo is the better long term pick. Like I have no doubt about it. But I really love the fixtures. Like Stark has been saying this like since we met. Like this season is all about playing the fixtures. And if you have the transfers to do so, then doing Mbumo to Bowen is probably the right move.
can we talk about Bournemouth? Their fixture run also is amazing from now until what, game week 19. Like their fixture run is insane.
I
Yeah,
think like Bournemouth are actually top of the ticker up until game week 30.
Yeah.
yeah. People sold Semenyo too early. He was just such an easy hold. Put him on your bench, rotate him. Like I don't understand anyone who sold him, but the time is now. No point looking back. You got to look forwards. The fixtures are great. He's on 4 yellow cards, but that's the luxury of his price point and your squad depth. You just rotate him. I'm sure a lot of managers have Rodgers and a cheap forward like a Strand Larson or a Raul. You just bench Semenyo for 1 week and you still target the fixtures. One thing I would say though about Wolves is, yeah, the Southampton one's nice, but the next three, Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton's not the best because Wolves are still a poor team. But ultimately, I think you still can't go wrong with Cunha in the sense that 90 minutes, so many routes to points. And you just have to think they eke out an end-to-end chaotic game of football with these teams. Like it's not the same as if though like Fulham versus, let's say, ManCity, for example, where Fulham played 5 at the back, quite defensive. But Fulham, what's your thoughts on Fulham as a fixture? I definitely think they're a difficult side to play against.
I do think they have strong defense. I think they're like top 10 in defense in the league right now. So I think the signing of Anderson did help them improve their defense. I think the work rate of the midfielders also helps when they track back. So I think the manager is doing a really good job of making sure everyone's on the same page. Because the biggest thing he said is that after the match versus Brentford, he said, "Listen, I like the fact that we shut down the likes of Mbimo and Wissa. That was our goal, and that's the reason why Brentford couldn't really cause that much damage. So it shows me signs that, listen, this manager understands who are the opposition's best attackers and how to shut them down. So that's a good news for me. And I think I'm looking at potentially getting a Fulham defender. For example, Anderson at 4.3 million. It's insane value for price. And the fixtures, I mean, as long as you have a fourth defender to rotate with, for example, like, I don't know, maybe a whole Lewis Hall or someone like that. Like, for example, like Palace and Wolves on paper, they're good fixtures, and then you can bench him for, I don't know, Tottenham or Brighton, and then play him versus Southampton. So yeah, if you want to get a rotation defender, it's a good shout. And then obviously the attackers, they've got plenty of options. I mean, ESR, Adama, you've got Raul, of course. So listen, Fulham is not a bad team to target for their assets, considering their
They,
fixture.
they're a good quality team, but it's like the fixtures are mixed, bro. Like it's not just a sea of green. Like if you look, for example, at an alternative like Brighton, like those fixtures are gorgeous after Man City, and you can even include Man City as a good attacking fixture. Honestly, like it's a good fixture run for attackers and good for defenders next week onwards.
I
Mm,
agree.
I just think I'd pay the extra for Robinson personally because he can give you an assist if they concede. So he ticks over nicely compared to Anderson. But Anderson does have aerial threat, and at 4.3 he is just great value. But one thing I love about Fulham is I watched them versus Everton very closely, and Everton had nothing in that game apart from that Beto goal. They control the game, and they like to keep possession. They control the game really well. And when I watched Everton against Fulham, Robinson wasn't constantly overlapping. If Tete on the other side goes forward, Kene sits in. So they have a great relationship and understanding of when to go forwards, when to drop in. So they always have that defensive structure there. Brighton, obviously, Danny Welbs. I feel like Danny Welbs versus Joao Pedro is going to be again another decision managers are going to have to make, because I don't like Joao Pedro at this point. Even if the fixtures are great, even if he's on pens, they've got too many options, and his injury record this season's been bad. And it's a busy schedule, so you want to prioritize players who are definitely going to get the minutes.
Don't you also
Yeah,
think
I
they've
think
just done just fine without him, Stark? They've done just fine without him so far.
Yeah, Ruter's a baller. He had a great season for Leeds last season. He's playing well. I can see JP coming in. JP is good. I'm not denying that. He's obviously on pens as well. It's just, do you want to bring someone in who keeps getting niggles in a period where teams, even the lower teams with no Europe, are playing 3 games in a week? Me personally, I don't want to. I want 90 minutes because you will see the benefit of it in this period.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. I think that makes sense. I think it depends on your squad structure. I was talking to IBK over Twitter about this, where it's like, if you're looking to bring in a Brighton attacker, Danny Welbeck has the competition of Ferguson. Like, I just love Ferguson. I think he has a lot of talent and he has a lot of upside. He's like their prospect, but I don't think he's been getting that many minutes last year, similar with this year. So I would favor Welbeck. He's already been getting the minutes. I don't expect that to change now. But I think when we're looking at the hierarchy of players within Brighton, João Pedro and Mitoma are just their first and second best players, and it's pretty obvious. Like, I'm sure the coach would even admit it. Like, there's a reason why he's on the pens, right? Like I think that like João Pedro is the best pick long term, but I don't expect him to get more points than Welbeck. I just think he'll be better value. That's just the way that I look at it. And if it's your seventh attacker, I'd probably prefer Welbeck because he's more reliable. But if he's your eighth attacker, then I prefer João Pedro. So it depends on your situation, I think.
Fair play. Shout out Kadioglu, the left back at 4.5 mil. He's competent on both feet, so he's versatile. He can play right back, left back, and he's been playing right mid. So I think he's a good option. I don't rate their defense. I think they play very risky football, which leads to, like City, right? They like to control the game, but City find a way to concede. They don't concede many chances, but when they do concede a chance, it's a very high XG chance because it's on a transition. So I can see Brighton always conceding and letting you down. But Kadioglu, if he continues to play right mid, not that I think he will, but it just goes to show if an injury does occur, he's so versatile that you can just play in any position. And at 4.5, you can't really go wrong. Kirkes as well, 4.4 million from Bournemouth. They've got good fixtures.
United assets we can talk about. I mean, these three, on paper, the 3 best fixture for any team on paper, to be honest, if you wanted to target United assets. So, yeah, you got
Yeah,
Mazraoui, Dalot. I mean, we'll talk about it in depth in the next
yeah,
section. So, should we move on?
yeah, 100%. Before we move on to the next slide, though, let me ask
Yeah.
you a question before we move on. So, like,
Mhm.
the next slide is going to show us like who are the players in the Premier League that have picked up the most non-penalty expected goal involvement over the past 5 weeks. So just think about the players that have been really involved. Obviously, probably Holland is at the top of it. Probably don't go there yet though. So like obviously Holland's at the top. You know, Palmer, that's probably there as well. Like who else do you expect to be in that sort of top tier of assets?
I mean, Mbuma has to be up there. For me, Mbimo, Bowen, I think these are talismanic assets that should be up there. I mean, what else you got? I would say Thaka, Palmer. Obviously, these are premium assets. All the premium, to be honest. Watkins. So yeah,
Mm,
Start.
there's going to Dominic Solanke. I know from experience that there's only a couple players that have more XG than him. I know he's had those 3 dud games, but he's had 3 games with really high XG. So Solanke, I don't know
Yeah,
who
that
else.
sort of makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I'd sort of agree with that. I think definitely Spurs would be there. So let's move on to the slide and see like how they're ranked. So we're organizing it from the top expected goal involvement. Of course, Holland is at the top. Palmer followed right behind. Havertz is actually there, sneaking in, even though he had poor fixtures. Then followed behind by another surprise player in Sadio Mane. Brennan Johnson. And then we have Solanke followed behind. So like the Spurs attackers are definitely up there. They've had some solid fixtures. Jackson is there as well. Saka, Foden, some really interesting names, but I couldn't find Salah. I had to go all the way to the bottom of the list, and then I saw him. That was shocking. I can't even lie. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, the owners have been lucky with his jammy penalties. What can I say?
He
Count
hasn't
your
had
luck.
a single pen, bro.
Who? Salah?
Saka, sorry. He hasn't had a single pen.
I said Salah.
Salah, okay.
Yeah, Salah's nowhere to be found, bro. He's just
Oh,
getting
wow.
he's getting jammy returns. No, I'm joking. This is just proof in the pudding for me that you got to take these things with a pinch of salt. Salah's got too much quality, and he doesn't need multiple chances to get a return in the game. Do you know what I mean? But it's
I'm
good to
more
see it.
surprised to see Watkins that low as well, bro. I mean, he gets loads of chances now.
Villa just haven't been firing as much as last season, but I think that's got to do with Europe. Personally, I feel like it's limiting their ceiling in terms of the intensity they can play with.
I'm surprised to see Watkins, to be honest. I expect, I mean, Calvert-Lewin has got so many chances too. What is this metric? Like, how is this non-penalty so low for Calvert-Lewin? This guy was getting, I don't know if this data is correct, mate.
No, it
I
is.
would
It
have to
is.
fact
It
check
is.
that.
It is.
Because
It is. It
how
is.
can it
Because
be correct? How can Dominic Calvert-Lewin get that low of an non-penalty when we've seen him like multiple games get big chance after big chance? I'd have to
yeah,
question that, mate.
his big chances came in game week 4 and game week 5. I think in game week 6 and 7. In the last couple weeks, he's been pretty quiet. He's only had like snapshots. He should have had a penalty. There's the XG wasn't actually as high as people think recently, which is why I think he's actually a sell if you have him.
How is
Brennan,
Bonanote so high? Bonanote out of all people.
they've had good fixtures, and he's very greedy. He loves to shoot. I'm surprised that Brennan Johnson's so high, to be honest.
Not
Yeah,
surprised.
bro. You know what? You know what? We'll get there. Like that's something to really discuss when we get to like my transfer plans
Mm.
because I own him. I don't know if I should sell him and bring him down to Semenyo or not. I know Semenyo had like difficult fixtures because I think he had like Aston Villa, he had Arsenal, he had Man City, but the drop off in XGI is pretty big. And I think Spurs will continue to churn out goals. Like the way that Aston Villa capitulated in the last 5 minutes, I don't know, or the way Aston Villa capitulated in the last 15 minutes against Spurs, I don't know if that's because Spurs are good or because Aston Villa are going to be bad because we don't know if we can trust them in the second half of games. I don't know what I should take from it.
Small sample size. I've seen them start off poor and then build into the game more times than not. So, listen, I just think Spurs at home are a very good team. They've got great attacking data, not over a small sample size. That's 10 games we've seen this. They've been consistently putting up great numbers. So, Spurs are just inconsistent away compared to at home. They seem to really thump teams at home and then bottle leads away. I don't know. But I think moving forwards, if he continues to play Sarr as well as Basuma, or just two midfielders who can run around as opposed to Madison and Kulu, I think it will provide them more structural support in the midfield, which will hopefully just provide more stability. Jimenez and Welbs, that's your decision, K-Man. Who are you going to bring in?
It's a tough one, bro. Such a 50-50, man. Like if you, my heart tells me Jimenez, but my mind tells me it's Danny Welbeck. And I'm not a manager who just goes based on just what's the short term. I'm a manager who looks at, like, for example, 5 to 10 game week sample size when I'm picking a player. So like they both fit that scenario, to be honest, in terms of fixtures. It's just that Danny Welbeck in the short term doesn't have the ideal fixtures. You got City and Bournemouth, which is not too ideal. So my mind says go Danny Welbeck because he's been ridiculous. Like 8 out of 10 returns already. Like out of 10 game weeks, he's returning 8 game weeks. That is insane amount of consistency. You cannot overlook that. And then obviously you have to consider the fact that the players around him, the coach, the system, it does favor Welbeck because everyone is trying to find him. Whereas when you're looking at the Fulham team, which I watched quite a few games actually, I watched more Fulham games than Brighton game, if I'm being completely honest. It seems like everyone is looking for their own shot, like Nelson, ESR, like Andreas. They're all trying to eat. I mean, in that sense, like where they're all trying to be the superstar. It's not, oh, we have a designated striker, we feed him. That's not the vibe I get. That's my concern. The positive of Raul Jimenez is the fact that he's not just a goal scorer, he's also a creator. So even if he doesn't give you a return in goals, for example, he can contribute in maybe giving an assist. We saw versus Man City the beautiful assist that he gave, right? So
He
yeah,
should be
man,
on.
yeah.
I hope he's on pens as well. Whereas Welbs on? Who's on pens if JP's not on the pitch? Is it Welbs?
Welbeck. Yeah.
Welbeck, yeah.
Oh, damn, bro. Let me say this. Welbeck is going to cook Man City this weekend. Watch this space. Honestly, I think Brighton win that game.
Bro, they could potentially
Wow.
win that game, bro.
They should have
Yeah,
They should have beat Liverpool.
yeah. Brighton is a sleeper team, man. People have. I told people, listen, Bournemouth is not a guarantee that Bournemouth doesn't. The City's gonna beat Bournemouth. I told this to all my friends in the group chats. I've been said in spaces. Bournemouth is a sleeper team. People underestimate them. Like the performance they put up against Arsenal, it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't to do with red card, and we repeated this talk. They've outplayed Arsenal even before the red card.
They should have beat Chelsea. When we went to their stadium, we got lucky. Sanchez
Yeah,
pulled off worldies. He saved a penalty. Like they should have beat us, to be honest.
I didn't watch that game, but I watched that Arsenal game and that City game. My goodness, Bournemouth were incredible. So yeah.
Look at Chris Wood,
Yeah.
aka R9, bro. Look at him overachieving like a madman, giving you about 50,000 points. Get
I
out of
know,
here.
bro. I can't drop him as well. I'm gonna have to show him the same amount of faith that I'm showing Haaland, to be honest.
So
So I can't
so
drop him.
when is the entry point for Chris Wood? Is it 13 in Ipswich, or do you just
Let's
ignore it?
No.
we can go back to it. So here's the fixture. So seems like
What are the fixtures? Ipswich City.
16 or 17 actually. If you wanted to be, if you consider United and Villa to be a tough fixture, it's potentially 17.
Okay.
17, yeah. So still a long time away. But the reason why I'm actually going to keep him, right, which we'll get to, or I can just mention it now, is ultimately with Danny Welbeck. If you look at his fixtures, he rotates quite well. So if you look at Brighton's fixture for game week 16 and 17, when Wood plays versus United and Villa, I could just play Welbeck. So that's also ideal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's move the conversation on. So we have like deep Man City assets that I think are a big question mark. A lot of people are wondering what to do with them. The likes of Holland, Foden, Rico Lewis, Vardiol. Lots of big investment in these assets. And I'm curious to hear like what your guys' thoughts are and what we should do with them. They have some more difficult fixtures coming up. Spurs is there. That's a good attacking fixture. Brentford is there. That's a good attacking fixture. Liverpool is tough. Nottingham Forest is tough. They struggle historically against Palace usually. Should be a tougher defense. Man United is a question mark. That could be a good fixture, could be a bad one. We don't know yet. Aston Villa is usually tough for them, but this is a weakened Aston Villa team most likely. So I don't know. This is just a mixed run. I feel like this is the perfect time to really be backing against Man City. I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
Mm, I've got Rico. Because of this is structure dependent. If Rico's your third defender, I'd be worried because they don't really keep clean sheets anyways. But I don't. He's not my third defender. He's a rotation piece, so I'll just keep him because there's not many better value assets at the back. So don't buy Rico, but at the same time don't sell. Is my opinion. Foden, the date is there, but for me the fixtures are gone, and there's too many alternatives at that price point. I'm actually probably going to move Foden to Bruno this week. So yeah, I'd
Wow.
get rid of Foden. Haaland's a keep for me. This is just my opinion. Haaland's a keep for me this week, and I'll reassess after the international break. If Romero and Van de Ven are still out, I'll keep him again. Then I'll move him on in game week 13. Guardiola's an interesting one. Like he's just returning for everyone. So and he's kind of fixture proof in the sense that he can just get an attack in return, even if they concede in difficult fixtures, because he's just I don't know. He's like I don't know how he can score with his weak foot outside the box the way he does. It's just mental. Even that header the last week, how did he score that?
Mm.
I think Pep should drop Haaland and put Guardiola up front. What do you think?
Bro, he's like I think the perfect analogy is that he's like a Rolls Royce. Like he can literally do everything. He's actually a really good quality player. It's like this is the type of squad that Man City have. They just have ballers in so many different positions, man. It's crazy to see them performing so poorly as a team when you have players like him in the squad.
Mm.
So your thoughts on Kanji? So in terms of sell, hold, and obviously, I guess, what are your thoughts on each one if you want to go down the list?
I mean, bro, I thought Holland was a sell like last week. If I owned him this week, I would. If I didn't have Salah, I think I would just sell and bring Salah in and captain him. I have more faith in Salah, just given the form for Holland, nothing else. I look at the exit point. I think for Foden, the actual exit point, it depends on who you're buying, right? Like if you go for Bruno, now would be the time. I guess it's similar to what Stark is saying, like a really good entry point for Bruno, where you get like I think it's what Leicester, Ipswich, and Everton. So 3 really good fixtures. I think Bruno could be a potential captain this week, but Foden has such a good record against Brighton. Like I think he has like 8 returns in 6 matches. I'll double check that, but his record is ridiculous. Like more goals and assists than games played against Brighton. So I would keep him for this one in particular. And Spurs is a good fixture for Foden. Like they're spacing behind. I'd expect Spurs to score. I expect ManCity to be lots of goals in that game. So realistically, the exit point for me for Foden is going to be Liverpool. And I think the players that you should be considering are if you don't have Palmer, then I guess you have to sell in 12 because Palmer is potential captain in 12. If you don't have Saka, I don't think there's pressure to bring Saka in for Nottingham Forest. Like I know Odegaard is going to be coming back. He was part of the matchday squad in the Champions League. I don't know if he'll start versus Chelsea or not, but I would expect him to start Nottingham Forest. And with him being there, I think Arsenal will likely pick up a win in that game. They would have really struggled without him. They didn't even have a shot on target in the second half versus Newcastle. But I think if you're going to Saka, I really feel like the entry point's actually in 13, where they play West Ham. So if you're doing Foden to Saka, I think it's in 13. If you're doing Foden to Palmer, I think it's in 12. But other
I
than that, I would look to hold.
My opinion on Saka is that I actually think it's a shame. If Son was fit, I think I'd keep Son until after the Southampton game in 16, and I would move Son on to Saka in 17 when I think he plays Palace and then Brentford and whoever. Like I think Saka has a good entry point in West Ham, but if you miss it, I think there's no rush. And I feel like, to be fair though, even against Newcastle, he could have had a couple of assists. He's just so like creative, and I get the love for him. I do, but I don't see this hype about him. For people are gonna bring him in for Nottingham Forest. I just think fair enough, not for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think like if you're looking at like the other assets like Rico Lewis, if you can bench him, go ahead. But that's a luxury bench. Like that's somebody priced at 4.9. If you can afford to bench that type of money, go ahead. Like there's a 50% chance I'll be in that position. Like I'm going without Holland and without Salah, so I have the luxury of doing so. I feel like for my structure, I can do it. But for a lot of structures, if you're starting him every week, I'm sure he will get his minutes managed, especially in the winter period. And the fixtures are terrible. Like I think Rico's probably a sell. Same with Guardiola and same with Holland. Foden is the one where I'd be willing to hold on for like a week or two and then sell. But Rico and Guardiola for
Wow.
me are sells this week.
I don't think Guardiola is a sell. I think that's
Okay.
not a sell, bro. Like if you look at his returns on this, right, the last 4 games, right, they consider every single one of those games. He's returned versus Newcastle, return versus Wolves, return versus Southampton, and return versus Bournemouth. Like this guy, bro, you can't think of him as a defender. He's playing like a midfielder slash striker. So when you're looking at Guardiola, don't look at clean sheets. Like why are people picking 8 Nori? Like Wolves, but statistically speaking, they're one of the worst teams in the league in terms of conceding goals. So people are going for it. Nori saying same thing that I'm about to say for Guardiola, and who plays for City, by the way, is that you're getting attacking returns. Like this guy is ridiculous. Like I was genuinely tempted to do Gabriel to Guardiola, and I think I was speaking to Stark about it when Gabriel had a doubt, and I was just 0.1 million short, and I almost did that transfer, and I wish I did. Like I would have 2 of his goal now, but it is what it is, right? We can't go back in time now. Now I think one good thing about me selling Lewis is, which I'm planning to actually, is obviously my structure. I've got 3 premium structures. I can't have Lewis as a third starting defender who I don't know if he's gonna start or not. I don't have that luxury. But those who are on non-Haaland draft definitely can obviously keep him and rotate him. And if you can do that, I do recommend that as well. So depending on your structure and your team, Lewis is a keep slash sell. So for my structure, I think it would be a sell. Whereas Foden depends on what upgrade do you get. If you're going to Bruno, I personally wouldn't do it. I think that's a sideways move. But if you're getting the likes of Salah, for example, or a Saka, I think that's an upgrade, right? So depending on which upgrade you get, that could be a sell. Otherwise, he's also a keep because Brighton are, come on, it's a good fixture on paper. And then Haaland, the main man himself. I'm not selling him. I can simple as that. So I think I'll keep him until game week 12 and then reassess. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. So the next topic to discuss is going to be about Man United and Spurs assets. Now, Spurs have a really good entry point this week with Ipswich. Man United have 3 incredible fixtures, followed by like 3 mixed fixtures, where I'm not even sure if they're going to pick up many results in those games. So you really have to be careful how much investment you want to have in Man United, but the next three look absolutely gorgeous. So these are going to be some of the assets to discuss. K-Man, what are your thoughts on these guys?
I do think that I've rated Garnacho the whole season, and I was hoping that he would repay that favor, and he has done it actually quite a few times. But versus Chelsea, I was extremely disappointed with his finishing and his lack of decision making. He got caught off guard by a typical, offside trap, which we could see, or we could all see as a viewer from mile away what Rhys James was trying to do. So I think he does need to improve as a young player. He does need to pick up those mistakes and improve on it, have better decision making, and definitely improve his finishing. I thought he was one of our best finishers in the team, but after that Chelsea performance, I'm questioning that myself. So Garnacho, I really, really like still. I don't want to let that one bad performance think that he's not a good player anymore. So I would have Garnacho one in terms of attacker, midfielder, and I would have from defenders, I would have Dalot as second if I were to get any. But I wouldn't triple up on either of these teams because you don't know what you're gonna get. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I would only go with Bruno currently because I feel like he is.
That's a shocker, bro. You've been
He's
pretty high on Garnacho.
yeah, but that was under Ten Hag. It's unknown. He might be playing left wing back. Ultimately, if he plays with two tens and a striker and wing backs as the width, then who's going to play as the wing backs? Dallo, Mazraoui. Who's going to play in the
Mm.
two tens? Bruno's going to take one of those positions, arguably. So who's going to get the other one? Rashford, Garnacho, Diallo? You don't know. If it's one of Rashford and Garnacho, all of a sudden Garnacho becomes a rotation risk. I don't want that. There's way better options at that price point to be worrying about Garnacho. However, with Bruno, with the free fixtures, I just think he's the safest bet because you know what you're going to get, and he's on set pieces, pens. Like he's just for me the only player I would touch currently until I see what Amorim can do with the team. That's just my opinion. Spurs. So it's just so annoying with Son's niggle, his injury. It's annoying. Johnson's got great data, Kulu. But yeah, I've got Solanke. I'm happy, excited to play the fixture. But
Mm.
I don't know.
So is Solanke like a longer term pick for you, or is he like someone you're gonna bin in game week 12 for ManCity?
Solanke
Mhm.
depends on this performance, to be honest. If he's still a focal point, I'll keep him until 17. I don't want to waste the transfer because I feel like he's guaranteed 90 minutes, Solanke. And I like that for this period. He's quite robust. So yeah, and Tottenham are a great attack, and I think they're good fixtures for attackers. Man City is a great fixture for attackers. I think Spurs can hurt them. Chelsea, well, we don't even know what defense is. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I was going to recommend the same thing. I think Solanke is a hold given that Richarlison's now picked up an injury. Like I sold originally, given that I thought Richarlison was going to come in and take minutes away from Dom, but now that Richarlison picked up another hamstring, he's out for a few weeks. Like there is international break, but I still think Solanke's a hold. Once Richarlison comes back and then he takes the minutes away from Dom, you'll know it's time to go. So I think for now he's a great value forward, even though I don't expect him to be on pens. I expect Son to come back after international break and be playing like 80 minutes a game. So yeah, let's
yeah,
see what
and
happens
also
there. Brennan, Sadio Mane. I love that guy. Kulu, bro. Sorry, you've been talking to me about Kulu, man. He's been cooking the last couple of weeks, bro. You have your eye on the differentials very well.
yeah, bro, Solanke though, man, that guy loves anime and he watches One Piece and Naruto and he does anime celebrations. So I feel inclined to keep him as an anime fan.
I think I've been
I
high
actually
on
love
Kulu
that.
more than anyone else, actually, Kanji. You meant to say that to me, actually. I've been higher on Kulu than Johnson. But Johnson is not a bad pick, as I always said, but I've always been high on Kulu more so than any other Spurs attacker. Obviously, Son is a given. If you can afford him, Son is the best attacker in that team. It's not even a question about it. What's your thoughts on Poro and Spurs defense? A lot of people own Poro, almost 27% of the game.
It's good news, man. 27% of people getting no points. Keep him in.
Now, on a serious note, though, Kanji, what do you think?
I mean, they have some really good fixtures coming up. Like they do have the Southampton game there. They have the Ipswich game there. If you have the ability to like bench him in Man City, the ability to bench him in Liverpool and Chelsea, then it's fine. He's a good pick, but I mean, I don't really know how much I trust Spurs defensively. They're better defensively this year than they were last year. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them keep a clean sheet versus Ipswich or Southampton and Porro get an attacking return in that fixture. Like he has double digit haul potential, but it's like I don't know if the minutes are there. Is Madison going to be coming back in the games against easy teams? So that means that he's offset pieces. I saw Son take a free kick away from him last week. Like, I don't know, man. I wouldn't spend 5.5 personally.
Let me pose you a question, right? Romero and Van de Ven, they're centre backs who are actually, I rate them, right? They're out and they play a high line. Do you really think Davis and Dragusin are going to keep a clean sheet with these fixtures? So Pedro Porro is a sell. Let's keep it real. Let's help the audience. If you've got Pedro Porro, I would personally advise you to sell. He's expensive. They don't really keep clean sheets, and his set piece threat is diminished. So I think he's a easy sell personally, if you've got him.
Yeah, that's facts. You hold for Ipswich and then just get rid. Like, I don't even know why they were there in the first place. So
I
I think
mean,
it's cool.
listen, the whole appeal for Porro was the fact that he was on set pieces and he was quite attacking, and people were hoping to get a couple of attacking returns. It's the same thing with Trent, but obviously Liverpool is a better defense. So even if Trent doesn't get a attacking return, there's a potential for clean sheet, which has been saving the Trent owners somewhat, and that's why Trent owners are keeping faith in him. However, with Porro, no does he's getting any attacking returns or any keeping any clean sheets, so that reduces his appeal. So yeah, I think he's a sell as well personally.
Yeah, one thing to note about him though, he is gonna haul. He will haul one game week, but is that one game week worth getting no points for like 7 game weeks? Is it worth it when you've got Nottingham Forest keeping consecutive clean sheets? Liverpool's fixtures are swinging. Konate's 3 million cheaper or 2 million cheaper. So, and Arsenal's defense is still solid, XGC wise, and the fixtures are swinging for them as well. So I would just yeah. I don't trust him to keep a clean sheet against Ipswich personally. Not without
yeah,
Romero.
for sure. Yeah, I think if we're looking for like edge in FPL, it's all about like trying to play the fixtures. And I think going for triple Arsenal is the biggest edge you can have from now until the end of the season, I think. Because Arsenal have already had their more difficult fixtures. They're great from an FPL perspective. We know who their best assets are. And upgrading him to a Gabriel can genuinely change your season if you didn't have one. So yeah, I really like that.
I don't
And I
think
think
that I don't think to say triple Arsenal from now on is the best thing to do. I think tripling up on any team is a risk, even if it's Liverpool or any team. Like you have to have like we saw people triple up on Spurs and they were quite, kind of punished. So
to be fair, like if you triple up on Spurs, you had a massive return. You had a goal from Brennan Johnson, an assist from Son. You had a haul from Solanke, and then you have Ipswich next week. So to be fair,
yeah,
those guys are eating.
but not if you have three. For example, if you have like a defender like a Porro and you have a Johnson and a Solanke, are you really eating when Porro is conceding every game? So I'm trying to
Yeah,
make the
but like
argument where if we were
for
saying
people,
that, so for example, the Arsenal argument where you said, oh, if you have triple Arsenal is a must and whatnot, I kind of disagree with that, which I could elaborate a bit more. For example, if you're saying triple Arsenal is a must, are you saying the double Arsenal defense that you're going to go with or double attack?
no, it's up to you. It depends on like what you value, right? Like I think like going for one defender and one attacker is essential from like game week 12 onwards. I think that should be your number one
I don't even
priority.
think that's
Getting one.
essential. I think I would even argue that one because I mean, I think Arsenal, you have to cover Arsenal defense because first and foremost, I understand the argument that Arsenal defense could be essential considering they're one of the top teams in the league that are keeping clean sheets when there is lack of clean sheet in every single other places, right? But the argument that you must have another Arsenal attacker or your season is finished, I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to the idea because of the way Arteta is playing this season. If it was previous seasons, I would have probably. But I think the way they're playing is a bit more defensive minded, protecting the lead rather than going all out attack and trying to destroy teams regardless of who they're playing.
Right,
So
I agree.
I
I
think I
agree.
think
I
that
agree.
mindset is what puts me back off loading up on them double triple. Whereas, for example, I understand the Spurs triple up. I somewhat get it, but at the same time, I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't say it's essential. It's same with
No, but
Liverpool. Like even though
it
Liverpool looks
is though.
good,
Like, man, it is essential. Like, go back to the slide where it shows you like the projected points from 5 to 10.
mhm,
Look and see where Mo Salah is in that graph. Look and see where Bukayo Saka is. Look and see where Kai Havertz are. And they had difficult fixtures, bro. They played like Man City. They had difficult fixtures in the last couple of weeks. I don't know. It was Newcastle. They basically didn't create anything, and still Havertz is there. Still Saka is there, and this is non-pen. Saka
do you
hasn't
want to
had
know
a
something
pen yet,
funny?
bro.
I didn't own
Yeah.
Havertz. I didn't own Saka for most of the season. I had Chris Wood. I had ESR. So Chris Wood, that someone cost 6.6 million, managed to match or outscore Havertz. and you're paying extra 2 million, 2.3. Do you know what? Do you know where that argument falls? Because I think Havertz is a price where he's getting the returns, but these cheap strikers are matching him. Whether it be Welbeck,
Yeah, that's
whether it be Wood, whether it be Raul, whether it be this X, Y, and Z. So I'm just saying it is not essential to have triple up, but I do understand where you need to cover Arsenal, whether it be
no,
defensively
but
or
that
attack
I
wise.
just I just disagree. Like, look where Chris Wood is in this matrix. Like, he's all the way at the bottom. Do you expect that with the trend of him overperforming the XGI is like going to continue? Like, if anything, we should
If
be
it's not
expecting
Chris Wood, I'll
Havertz.
switch to another budget option, whoever's performing at the time. If it's not Chris Wood, I'll go to Welbeck.
Yeah,
If it's not
I mean,
Welbeck, I'll go to
like
Cunha.
again, it really depends on your structure. But like to me, I think
No,
Saka
but it
is more
also
essential.
depends on your approach to the game. This has got turned into an analytics versus grass debate in a
Yeah,
sense, because Wood's at the bottom, but at the end of the day, he's got more points or matching Havertz. So ultimately, XG doesn't give you points in FPL. It's just indicative of what the future might hold. But ultimately, the picture always changes. So K-Man's point about Arsenal not necessarily playing the way they did last season, they've had a lot of different variables to deal with. Odegaard being out, which impacts the creativity, so he's coming back. Secondly, they've played good teams this season, so everyone knows Arteta is adaptable manager, so he changes his approach to more difficult games. So in the easier games at home, like this conversation was the same last season, and then all of a sudden Arsenal in easy games were thrashing teams 5-0, 4-0, and everyone was like, "Whoa, shit." So the picture can change very quickly in FPL, so you should keep an open mind. The fixtures swing in 13, in my opinion. So I think Saka would be a good option to have, but I don't agree with the idea that people are saying triple Arsenal will be an edge in the game. I do not subscribe to that whatsoever. I think that's
It's not just
ridiculous.
edge. What they're saying is essential. It's even worse. It's not even what they're saying. It's not even edge. They're saying the word essential. We say that we can't call any player essential, but at the same time we're saying, oh no, triple Arsenal is essential. That's counterintuitive. That doesn't make any sense.
yo, look at where Salah is in this graph. Like, look where Saka is, and he has
Kanji, with
like
all due
way more
respect, this
difficult
graph means
fixtures.
nothing to me. I'll be completely honest with you. This graph means nothing to me because Oli Watkins shouldn't be
Sure.
where he is right now. Semenyo shouldn't be where he is right now. Mohamed Salah shouldn't be where he is right now. This is ridiculous. Are we saying that Havertz
but
is going to outscore Mohamed Salah? That's ridiculous, bro. Like, come on.
I mean, if you just factor in the fact Salah had 2 pens, like that's
No,
bailed
no.
him
Are
out
we gonna? Okay,
basically.
let's do this right now, Kanji. Are we gonna sit here right now and say that Mohamed Salah, Kai Havertz is gonna outscore Mohamed Salah this season?
No, bro.
Then there
It's
we go.
just
This graph means
value.
nothing. This graph means nothing, bro. With all due respect.
It's just value. It just shows you where I think the points will be. Like they had difficult fixtures. I'd want an Arsenal attacker and an Arsenal defender. Like it's essential, 100%, no doubt in my mind.
We'll have
That's
to
the
agree
edge
to
in the game,
disagree on this one,
100%.
mate. I
Okay,
don't think.
let me
Yeah.
ask you a question. Yeah, let me ask you a question, right? So from 12 to let's say 17, who scores more points, Havertz or Isak?
I don't. Until look at the fixture. Are you asking me?
I'm asking both of you guys because they're the same similar price point. So obviously, if you pivot out of Haaland and look at a fixture swing, it's a debate to be had, which I'm having myself between.
Okay.
Because if you go no Saka, you can kind of bring in Havertz and like kind of try to
Yeah.
cover the Arsenal attack. You can't cover Saka, but you can cover the Arsenal attack and try and get some points. So if you was to go Son from now until 17, then arguably you go Havertz. But me personally, I think Isak is going to score more than Havertz from now until 17.
So Isak is Palace, Liverpool, Brentford, Leicester, Ipswich. Up until when you said 18 or 19? You said.
18, whatever.
Okay. Yeah,
When
so but 18 it gets a bit difficult though for Isak. He's
but
got Villa and United.
that's when Arsenal's become really good. If you look at the fixtures.
Okay, so now let's compare Arsenal. Arsenal has from game week 12, you said, or 13. Sorry, 13. 13 they have Villa, which is a tough fixture on paper. If we're being honest, and then Southampton, Tottenham, Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich. I do think it's a close one, bro. It's a close one. I do think the fixtures are kind of even because Isak is Liverpool. Yeah. Or am I looking at the wrong fixture actually? No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. So Arsenal has actually, sorry, let me say again. Arsenal has actually West Ham, United, Fulham, Everton, Palace, Ipswich. Arsenal has the better fixture run. I'll probably go with Havertz, mate.
Wait, what? What are you talking about?
Arsenal have a better fixture run than Newcastle, bro, from 13
From 13 till 17?
to 19, actually.
No, I wasn't concluding 19. I was including 17.
17. Okay. West Ham. So Palace, Liverpool, tough fixtures, man. Not easy to score. And then Brentford, Leicester, and Ipswich are the only ones I see as the easy fixtures. Whereas Arsenal, they have West Ham, United tough, Fulham tough, Everton, Palace. Yeah, I'll probably give an edge to Isak then.
No, but
It's
the
a
point
close
is,
one. It's a close one.
the point is though, if you've got Saka, right, which most people will do, would you
Mhm.
double up on him and have Havertz as well, or would you go Isak versus Havertz if you already own Saka? Surely you'd go Isak.
Mhm.
So then
Yeah.
that's
Sure.
why
You go Isak, sure.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm questioning this triple Arsenal gives you is your edge in the game. I don't agree with it personally, because if you look at 15, you know what? Even now until 19, I would rather have Trent and Gabriel as opposed to Gabriel Saliba. So
Yeah,
this is
100%.
where you have to actually analyze the triple up versus who you're going against, and I think you quickly come to the conclusion that triple Arsenal is not your edge in the game, because majority of managers will have double Arsenal. So to say that triple Arsenal is your edge, ludicrous statement, and I think we should not be saying that.
I disagree, though. I think Raya is the best goalie from now until the end of the season, period.
Time
There's
will
no
tell, won't
arguing it, really.
time
But
will
yeah,
tell.
well, time will tell. And like you could say that Sells would be better value, right? So it's not essential. No one is. I should never say anyone is. No one is
Exactly. That's what I
essential.
was trying
But
to counter you,
I shouldn't
Kanji,
say that.
because you say that
I
all the
shouldn't say that.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say all the time no one is essential, but yet at the same time you said, "Oh no, triple Arsenal is
Mm,
essential," and that's why I
I
want to
mean,
challenge you on that, because that's
yeah, it's fair.
counterintuitive, you know?
That's what's wrong.
Yeah,
Because like you can just argue right there, like Isak could be a better pick than Havertz.
yeah.
But I still think Saka is like okay. I'm just gonna say it. I think Saka
No,
and Palmer are straight up essential picks. Like I think those two
fair
are just
enough.
essential long term picks.
Fair
Like there's a
enough.
reason why Salah's at the bottom of the chart. No offense. But
Fair
Yeah,
anyway.
but
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's
let
fine.
me. Okay. Lastly, before we move on, if you was to look at this day, XG last season, would Salah kind of be in a similar position for XG?
I
Like
don't know.
he's not.
Salah
So
like the
non-penalty
reason
XG.
why yeah,
Like
I
say
think
last
Salah
season, historically, has Salah's data always been top 3 for non-penalty XG?
yeah,
It has.
yeah. And
But under Klopp,
his
but you have to
XGI is
understand though,
weighted more.
Klopp was different manager. Klopp used to play a bit more, like a lot more attacking. They used to create so many chances. So whereas Slot, the system has changed where they attack, but it's a bit more reserved. They don't go all gung ho. You know what I mean? Like,
But
Yeah, but
look at what happened
they
in the
just put
Champions
up
League.
4x. Yeah, they just put up 4 XG versus Leverkusen.
I know, but
Like,
it's
what?
Champions League. We're talking about Premier League, but okay.
No, but yo, that could happen in the Prem. Like that could legit
Bro,
happen in the Prem.
we're talking about Slot. What is he not the manager in the Champions
No,
League?
I understand, but we can't like it's a different competition, bro. Like the way Villa plays with Champions League and Premier League is different. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
the strategy changes, bro. We can't like if you're talking about one competition, we're going to a different competition, which is a knockout competition. This is a league, bro. League competition and knockout competition is different. It's like
No, but the Champions League currently is a league table format, bro.
I hear you, but it's just anyways, if
It's
you
like
want to
it's
use that
different
data
opponents. Like
to
yeah,
if you exactly different points, if you want to use that data to make your decisions, that's fine. But I'm just saying it's a different league. I don't know if we should be talking about that when we're doing EPO specifically, but okay.
yeah, it's fair. It's
It's
fair.
like okay,
But
it's
like
like me
Salah,
saying
like
it's like
even
me
though
saying Lautaro went to Argentina and he scored a banger or something like that. I don't know. And now he's
Bro,
gonna come back.
people are selling Haaland based on his performance last night in the Champions League because he missed the penalty and he missed chances.
That's poor. That's poor.
No, but I'll give you another example. We had a discussion about Salah in Spaces when he's had a great performance in the last Champions League game, and you're like, yeah, but that's the Champions League, bro. I want to see it in the Prem. So ultimately, when we were telling you before his last 2 hauls versus Arsenal and Chelsea that, you know what, Salah has been performing well. Look how he played in the Champions League. You said, but bro, that's the Champions League. Okay, but look what happened in the next 2 games. He carried that form into the Prem. So
Okay, so who's the guy that kept him?
you kept him, and that's what I'm
So
saying.
one second. So if I didn't know that Salah wouldn't turn around, would I have kept him?
Bro,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's irrelevant to
Like
my
no,
point.
but you saying you saying it's a fact. The fact that in the Premier League he didn't perform well, it's a fact. Like in the first few games, it's a fact. Like I didn't watch Champions League, so I couldn't even comment on that. So I'm saying based on what I watched in the Premier League, he didn't perform well, and I'm not pleased with him so far. So for example, Foden is banging in goals in the Champions League, left, right, and center, but he's not getting it done in the Premier League. What do you want me to say to that?
It's just
Now
bad
you
luck.
want me to say to you, no, Foden is gonna bang. I need to now. I'm gonna keep him now because no, he scored a goal in the Champions League. He's gonna score versus Brighton now. No, like I have to say in the Premier League because it's a different competition, different opponents. and I need to see him pick up form in the league before I can trust him. Same philosophy I used for Salah, but I still kept faith in him. And if I had Foden right now, I'd still keep faith in him because I think he's a quality player. But if I could get an upgrade somewhere else and get a Saka or a Salah, I would take that risk, which a lot of people did last week actually, and it paid off. You know what's crazy? I actually advised people not to drop Foden, and now I feel bad about them because the upgrade that they were gonna get was Salah and things like that. They would have captained him and they would have like 18 points. You know, I feel really bad.
Yeah, big swing.
Yeah, but that's all team dependent, man. If you're gonna captain Haaland, there's no point bringing in Salah because the whole point was really to captain him against Brighton as opposed to Haaland versus Bournemouth. And ultimately, Foden put up good data. He put it on a plate for Haaland, and Haaland didn't deliver. So Foden owners have been unlucky to an extent. The data's there, so hopefully he can. If people still keep the faith, then maybe he'll get you a return. But I don't know, man. I think there's better options at his price point. Should we move on though?
Yeah, another thing I want to mention. Do we think Gabriel Martinelli is going to average what the stats are saying over here?
No.
There we go. And that's just my point proven. Move on.
Fair point.
Okay, all right. So the next one is best cheap forwards. So we covered this and then best cheap forwards. Yeah.
Yeah, what we like for me, like this isn't really that relevant to me. So I'm curious to hear like what you guys are thinking on this.
Well, it's really, really relevant to me, mate. I'm literally losing my head over this. So I'm in a procurement where I'm looking for a cheap forward that's under 6 million. So it can't be above 6 million. Otherwise, I can't do two moves. So essentially, I'm going to downgrade Lewis and upgrade to a 6 million striker or below. And currently, I have my eyes on Wissa, Welbeck, as well as Raul Jimenez and Strand Larsen, of course. I've done quite a bit of research into pretty much the most research I've done is into Welbeck as well as Raul, because these are the two that I'm coming back to if I'm looking at long term. And what I found out is that it's basically a 50-50 call. In terms of the quality of players, I think Raul offers more in terms of versatile, as I already said, and he has more routes to points. However, I'm not sure on his secret. I'm not sure about his minutes in that team because Minutes is also a young striker who is hungry and who wants to prove to the manager that he deserves a starting spot. So ultimately, players are fighting for spots, and I think you mentioned it, like Nelson and all these Adama, all these players, they're fighting for their spot in the starting 11. And I don't know if that's a good environment where a particular striker will get the most chances and will be able to convert them. So that's one of the negative thing about Raul. But in terms of the quality of a finisher, striker, the numbers, it's all there. Fixtures are also there. Whereas Welbeck, it's already a well-drilled team, and they already know what their objective is. They're trying to get Europe Conference League, which is top 6, and they want to win regardless of whatever it takes. The best way to win is follow what the manager says, right? Not to play selfish, is unselfish and winning game, right? And ultimately, they're going to always play what the right passes are. So if there's a pass for Welbeck to give a through ball or a cross in, they'll always do that. Whereas I don't see that with Fulham. You know what I mean? So I don't know what you guys think of that analysis, or am I bugging out? Another thing to mention actually, which Thinking Cap mentioned, is that Brighton also play one game a week because until 2025 they're not in the Europe and they're out of the EFL Cup, which I also found out before he said that. So just a quick shout out to that. So
are Fulham still in the EFL Cup?
I do not know that. I do need to check that.
The thing that I disagree with the take on Fulham about because historically under Marco Silva, the strikers get a high volume of chances, so they do feed the striker the ball, and Jimenez's data is good for that reason. They're feeding him the ball. The Dharma obviously has a good relationship with him, but I think I do agree with that point in the sense of Reece Nelson was kind of playing for his spot, and there was so many times where Raul Jimenez was there, like point pass me the ball, and he kind of took the shot on. So, but ultimately, when these things happen, you got to remember they're looking for 3 points. The manager's he's gonna have words with them, and they're gonna find a solution. Look at Haaland versus Wolves and Newcastle, for example, no chances at all. Look at the next 2 games, the most in the league. Managers, like we're FPL managers and we find solutions for our team. What do you think real managers do for their football team when something's not clicking? They find a solution. So that's why the picture always changes. So Jimenez in the next game might get 3 big chances and convert 2 of them. But ultimately, I feel like you can only have one of Welbeck or Raul. I wouldn't have both Welbeck and Raul because they're very similar in the sense of their minutes. There's competition. And that's why it always leads me back to Chris Wood and Cunha. Cunha's in isolation. If you bring him in now, you don't have to worry about him until the new year. And you know he's getting 90 minutes. He's got routes to all different kinds of points. He's a bonus point monster. The fixtures are there. So yeah, I just think in the December Christmas period, Cunha, as a cheap striker, he's probably the best one, to be honest. Even though I
Yeah,
think
is there
are superior, Brighton are superior team-wise, but Cunha is just
yeah.
90 minutes.
Is there any consideration for Strand Larson came out or no?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's an option, right? I mean, why not? I mean, if you could, I mean, I'm just trying to find reasons also to go Lawson. It's just that one thing puts me off is I do need to play him in game week 12 and 13 because when I'm looking at the rotation
Please.
between Rodgers and Wood, Wood has Arsenal in 12 and Rodgers has Chelsea in 13. So I would want to bench those two players for those two game weeks specifically. And unfortunately, Lawson plays versus Fulham away and he has Bournemouth at home, which on paper these fixtures may seem green and easy, but it's not easy actually.
They're not. They're actually difficult fixtures, yeah. Those are
Yeah.
the worst ones of the run. But that's like being picky. Like, they're not playing like Arsenal or Man City or Liverpool. Like it's a solid run overall.
No, I hear
But,
you, but his numbers are not there though in terms of his XGI and whatnot, which you guys
okay,
know very well.
man, to play devil's advocate to that point, if you look at the fixtures they've had, it's going to be difficult to generate the same level of XG as Danny Welbeck and Raul Jimenez, for example. They've had all the difficult fixtures, so I think his XG should increase with these fixtures, no?
Yeah, potentially. You're right. You're right as well. Yeah.
But
What about
Like if I
Wissa?
was making
Welbeck's
like
fixtures have
if
been
I was
underrated.
making
Look at Brighton's.
yeah,
They've had hard teams as well, man, and he's been doing it against the hard teams. But yeah, sorry, Kanji, go, bro.
yeah, I was gonna say if I was making this decision, I would genuinely just pick the cheapest guy that has the most minutes and not worry about it. That's what I would do in this decision. But I know this is your seventh attacker, so you're gonna have to rely on it every week. So
Yeah,
it's a tough
because
one. I think
because for me it's a
I would
rotation, right?
lean
So it's a seventh attacker exactly. So I was also
yeah.
thinking maybe Wissa. Wissa, I mean Brentford, like obviously that performance versus Fulham didn't impress me too much, but ultimately when they do play at home, they play quite attacking. So like the next three, I could play him every single week, and then obviously in 13 maybe I could go to Welbeck or no, I can't go to Welbeck because he has Leicester. But maybe in 13 I could switch to Larson or something for Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, and Leicester.
Mm, yeah, man. Mm.
If you're gonna
And
do that, I'd rather just go Larson right away. That's what you're thinking.
I see.
Yeah, like I think
Mm.
your best option, honestly, it's like you either just buy into Welbeck, you buy into Raul, or you just buy into Larson and you set it and worry about other stuff.
I just think like I've already had like experience with the cheap striker like Delap, and I don't want to experience that again personally. And I've already experienced going for a team bottom feeder team, who don't do much to be honest on attack, don't create much chances for the striker. They come off in the 70th, 80th minutes, and you ultimately get a blank. Whereas I feel like I've seen enough from like the likes of Raul and as well as Wissa as well as Welbeck to have a bit more confidence in
Yep, that's
for
fair.
them. Yeah. So
Not
I
even
think
just the season, like their history, like their historical data. I would trust
yeah,
those guys more than this
I
new
think
guy. So
Welbeck.
that's fair.
I think Welbeck's going to cook.
yeah,
Man City. I think he's going to.
yeah.
I think Brian
Exactly, yeah.
cooked Man City, man. Yo, Danny
Yeah.
Wells, bro. If Danny Wells continues to play, he is going to be for the people because he's a risk pick, right? That's why I like those picks to an extent because not everyone is going to go there because it's not everyone's cup of tea. So if he does bang and start, bro, Brighton have played difficult fixtures, man. Like if after Man City, they played pretty much all the best teams, and
But
look what they've been doing.
yeah, but he has his ownership is high though. He's 20% on, man. It's not like exactly a differential, like in a sense.
Yeah, but amongst the top 100K, what's his ownership? Do you know what I mean?
Okay, maybe in the engaged managers, his ownership isn't that high. Yeah.
You got to look at these things. But yeah, shall we?
Yeah. You can move on to the next one. Yeah. So in
100%.
conclusion, how would you guys rank it? Was for me last question. Obviously, then we move on. For me, if you guys could rank the strikers.
Sark, what do you think, bro?
Man.
It's not easy, man. It's not easy.
Uh,
It's so close.
no, but there's like it's because of the period we're about to come into, where it's December, where these teams are going to be playing 3 games in 1 week. Like, you don't want that player to be benched, depending on your structure, if you start them, because they're going to come on. They're a striker, so I just think Cunha gives you no headache at all. Chris Wood obviously is going to start every game, but the fixtures aren't there. Wissa, most people have in Boomer. I don't like doubling up on Brentford. Welbeck, I like. The Brighton team are great, same as Fulham. And obviously Jimenez and Welbeck are starting right now. So ultimately, it's like this. If you bring in Welbeck and attack the fixtures, you're bringing him in because you think he's going to get returns. So if he gets returns, he's not going to be dropped, is he? He's in good form, and you're going to be getting points. Same as Jimenez. Fulham, great team. If you bring Jimenez in as the main man and he's getting goals, is he going to be dropped? No. So you're going to be getting points. So that's the way you've got to look at it. And if they start getting dropped and they start blanking, then you just have to move them on. But that's a waste of transfer. So I don't know, man. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, I think like looking at this horizon, it doesn't look that good for Fulham, but they have like West Ham, Leicester, and Ipswich right after this. So realistically, the fixtures are actually pretty even between Brighton and Fulham. So because of that, I would just pick the cheaper guy, and I'd be on Raul personally. And I also prefer Raul as like the best quality player on this whole list, apart from Cunha and Wood, who are levels above all of these guys.
Yeah. Thanks.
One thing to note about if you look at actually the returns from Welbs and Cunha, they both returned against like a lot of teams have been returning against Wolves and Fulham play Wolves. A lot of teams have been returning against Brighton in terms of the attackers, and and Fulham play Brighton as well. And then Tottenham is a good fixture for attackers. So I don't think they're actually bad fixtures. I just think it's the 15 and 16. But if you've got rotation, you bench them then, and then straight after you've got Southampton. So getting good fixtures if you can bench them.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, and just a reminder for anybody, let's say, making like an 8th attacker move, João Pedro's the pick long term. Like he just is the cheapest
He's not
on
even
pens. You'll
available
get
though.
60 minutes.
He's not even
Yeah,
available though. We can't say he's a
yeah. So
pick
if you
right
don't
now.
need him, there's international break. He was in training. I'm sure he'll be back. Like he'll be part of the squad probably or something. Like I'm not worried about it.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
game
That's
man,
fair,
we're on
man.
opposites of so many decisions.
No, it's not even opposite. I agree with most of what you said. I do think Raul is a really good pick. It's such a close call for me. Ultimately I'll go with my gut between Raul and Welbeck, but the numbers are quite similar. If you look at Welbeck, like he had in terms of start. I mean, he played 90 minutes 4 times compared to Raul who played 2, and then his numbers for minutes per XGI is same 0.56, and then
Yeah, it's
for the pen
similar.
90 is
It's so
also
similar.
it's very similar. So yeah,
And
let's see. It's okay. So let's move on. All
yeah,
right.
I'd
100%.
probably
Yeah,
go
so
well.
we'll move on to
Yeah.
you go
Let's see.
Wells. Yeah, it makes sense, bro. Yeah, so let's move on to probably the best section of the pod, which is wait, this is in year 2? Oh, I forgot about this. Game man, bro, talk to us about Free Hit 11.
Oh, this is me, by the way. I
Okay.
contemplated potentially free hitting this week, and this would be my team, and it would be a 3-4-3. Would you guys free hit this week? Because I see a couple people talking about it. Me personally, I'm leaning
Why?
towards no. I'm leaning towards no free hit. But I'm just saying there's going to be people out there debating it, and this is the team I would go for if I did. Do you see any upside to free hitting this week?
No, not for me personally.
No. Depends on your team. Like, I don't know what the reason would be.
Just attacking, like, so you got obviously Wolves at home against Southampton, you got Tottenham at home against Ipswich, and United at home against Leicester, which is obviously 3 good fixtures at home against the relegation fodder. So I see late riser debating it, and obviously another person in the space, FPL Rhino, was also debating it for his team. So I've seen managers who are good managers debate it. So I just wanted to bring it up in conversation to see if you guys would do it or think about it. And if I was to do it, this would be my team. What would you make of the team as a whole?
I think your defense is I like your defense, but I maybe have Dalot over Mazraoui. But yeah, I like your defense a lot. 8 for Southampton is really good. I would maybe have a different keeper for Fabianski instead of maybe I don't know, maybe Sells or someone else. I would have instead of Sar, I would probably have Kulu.
Sar doesn't
Um,
start, or it's a 3-4-3.
okay, sorry, you're right. Sorry, it's 2 for 3. So Sar doesn't start. Okay, so yeah. No, if it's a 3-4-3, then yeah. Garnacho, yeah, because he's gonna start because the manager's not here yet, so he's gonna start. Yeah, man, looks
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the team's solid. I think I would just put I actually think I'd have Pedro Porro in there over Robinson. Just for on a free hit. Yeah. Apart from that, it looks good to me. And I yeah. I think I'd try to go to Onana instead of Mazraoui, bro. I don't know who's gonna start. Otherwise, I think if
No, he's
Mazraoui
gonna
starts, like,
start. He's gonna start. The new manager doesn't come into Ipswich game, so he's gonna start. Mazraoui's gonna start the next
okay,
game.
okay, yeah. Then you're good. Then you're good. The only thing I was put Poro in here. That's it.
Yeah, I think Poro's a waste of money for this week. They're not going to keep a clean sheet, in my opinion. So if I
Oh
think that,
yeah, I forgot about the center backs. Oh yeah, no, no, good point. Good point. Yeah, you're right.
Come on,
You
catch up,
cooked.
Kenji. Catch up, bro.
I
Pick up.
just think
I forgot
I
about
think
it.
I think Fulham can keep a clean sheet against Palace without Eze. They're not as effective.
Threatening.
No, Elise as well. And Fabianski, if he starts, I think what is the point of it's that Everton have DCL up front or better. Like Everton are just Southampton kept a clean sheet against them. Fabianski's going to make a lot of saves. I know West Ham are bad, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a haul. And at 4 million, like, that's just like it's a dream on a free hit to start a
Yeah,
4 million keeper.
Yeah.
yeah. I think you nailed it. 100%. So let's move on to one of the best sections of the pod, which is our PFC section. Hey man, what are your thoughts on last week, bro?
Bro, I wanted to copy you. Basically, Pedro Porro. I just knew it was automatic W because I always kept getting those flops right, sorry, wrong. In the past weeks, so I said, yeah, let me just quickly copy and paste. Man like Kanji, who's just been copying, having the same flop every week and getting the points, racking up those stats. So yeah, Porro, there's not much to say. Dilap, unfortunately, blank was my differential, but his time is probably up in my team, as you can probably tell because I'm looking at replacing forwards. I don't think he had a single chance in that game, so really disappointed. Salah captain, he returned, so yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, so similar here with the captaincy. Salah was the obvious pick on paper. Poro continues to blank. I don't know why owners have him. And then Foden, just a little bit disappointing on the punts. He created a lot of chances. Ugh, he had a chance to score a goal as well. Ugh, it is what it is, bro. I think he's had like 4 games in the Champions League and had like 4 returns. And then in the Prem, he's had like nothing apart from the assist off the bench. It's bad luck. What about you, Stark?
Yeah, 2 out of 3. DCL flopped, but he had Southampton, guys. You got to keep him. He's got West Ham this week, guys. Got to keep him. Yeah, man. Darwin Núñez punt. Jesus, man. Darwin Núñez. I feel like he could have had a return. He got close, but unfortunately, Brighton bopped them about for a bit. So it's going to be interesting actually to see if what's his name, Diaz starts up front and Gakpo starts left wing because they were cooking. Don't you think?
Mhm. Yeah, they
I,
play
c-
really well this week.
I
Maybe.
would not be surprised if Jota's out if he plays Lucho striker again.
Yeah, you might be right. You wouldn't have seen that under Klopp for sure, but maybe in the new manager. Let's see.
But yeah, but I think we should go to next week's.
So this is a tally
100%.
currently, by the way. So currently, I'm on 8 points total, and Kanji's on 11, and Stark is on 10. I think this is correct. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's looking good. I'm kind of clawing back, trying to learn from the god himself, Kanji. So we'll see. So moving on to our game week 11 punt, flop, and captaincy. I'll go first. I've got Kulusevski again. I think he's gonna bang versus Ipswich. Just so you guys know, I was the last pick. So Kanji was first pick, Stark was second pick because of the total tally of the points that they have, and because last week we all had the same amount of points. So I was the last pick. Ultimately, this is what I was left with. So I'm quite happy. Kulusevski, I think he can bang, and Pedro Porro, I'm expecting to flop again. Easy W. Just trying to catch up to Kanji now. And you got Haaland as captaincy.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, for me, I'm like all in or nothing. My punt is Son, my captain is Son, hoping he doesn't get any minutes in Europa. And then Lewis is the flop. I expect Brighton to score, especially at home.
Yeah. Bruno Fernandes is my punt, and I'm 0 for 5 on punt. So what that means is don't bring Fernandes in, guys, because my punts are shocking. No, I'm 0 and 6 for punts, I think. But yeah,
Yeah,
Damn, bro.
yeah. Well,
and I've had in my punts, I've had Kulusevski, I've had Foden, I've had players that have returned but in the wrong week. Haaland captaincy. I think Rodgers will flop. I think the Champions League's going to catch up to Villa. Liverpool is a difficult fixture away, and I think Trent owners are going to get their reward this week. That's my
yeah,
take.
probably. Yeah. All right.
Um, Haaland captaincy, yeah. I think he's going to cook versus Brighton. I think he's going to get the chances, and I think he's going to be people are doubting Haaland for the first time in a long time, and I'm curious to see how he reacts to that because I really rate his mentality.
All right, then let's move
Yeah,
on.
100%. Yeah, these are some really interesting punts. I really like that. Let's move on to the next section, which is actually going to break down the captaincy points of all three of us. Now, keep in mind that K-Man and Stark have both used their triple captain, so just take away 17 points from them when you compare it to me, but they're still absolutely smashing me. So I think whenever we're looking at captaincy, I think K-Man leads the way, which makes sense because if we think we move to him, I think you're 2 slides down.
Um,
Cayman has the most captaincy points, and that's because he had all the premium players and he timed the captaincy perfectly because he nailed it. So, like, not only does he have the premiums, he timed captaincy very well, and that's the advantage of going for Cayman structure versus if you go for my structure, you're sort of like don't have that many captaincy options, and then Stark is like a hybrid of both of our structures. So it's interesting to see like our captaincy points. That's been one of my big errors in previous seasons, and it's continuing this season as well. Interesting to just sort of notice that. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Haaland's cost me since I brought him in. I would have had Salah versus Chelsea and probably in Boomer the week after, and I'd be flying. So, yeah, bit of pill to swallow.
yeah, for me, I think Haaland is the same thing as Stark said. I think Haaland also punished me. Our captain versus Fulham at home, and I captain him versus Wolves. Oh, sorry, not Wolves. I think Wolves. Yeah, Wolves as well. So that was tough times. But otherwise, it's been solid so far. So for me. So yeah, pretty happy, man. I just need to make sure I get this right moving forward.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
100%. It'd be
so
nice to
important.
review this in like maybe 4 or 5 weeks' time to see how things change.
Yeah, let's do it every 4 weeks and then see how we're progressing. All right, let's move on to our team selection for
100%.
Kanji.
Yes.
Sorry,
So
sorry. Game
this,
week 10 review. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So this week, somehow I still ended up with a red arrow, even though I'm still ranked in the 3 millions. Like I'm playing FPL on easy mode, but unfortunate with the captaincy pick. I wish I had Salah. Dropping Salah like a few weeks ago and going for Foden and Son has not paid off at all. I thought I was playing the fixtures, but really it's kind of blown up in my face. I actually sold Solanke to Isak this week, which looks a little bit crazy given that hindsight's 2020. Solanke went out there picked up 16, but I actually would have benched him. So realistically, the 9 points from Isak is actually like I'm actually up 1 point on the transfer because I would have played Brennan. But yeah, it's unfortunate to bench Brennan as well. I mean, owning Calvert-Lewin is a skill issue. So I need to be getting rid of this guy. I'm happy to go with double Arsenal defense. I disagree with K-Man. I think double Arsenal defense is the way long term. I need to find a way to upgrade Foden to Saka. That's actually the question I need to think about long term. I have zero in the bank. So all my transfers going forward are just going to be sort of finding the money for Foden to Saka. So right now, my bus captain is on Sun, but just based on how things have evolved over the week, I think I'm going to be on Sadio Mane for captaincy. And
Sadio
then I
Mane.
think Brennan Johnson. Sorry. And then yeah, so Calvert-Lewin down to João Pedro is pretty much a lock for me. I'm just sort of getting point 0.5 from there. Now the difference between Saka and Foden right now is actually 0.9. But I think by the time I look to make that transfer in game week 13, the price difference is going to be 1.5. I think that Foden will be falling in price. You'll see the likes of Stark and other FPL managers looking to sell him to Bruno or just go early to Saka. So I think Foden will fall. I think Saka will also rise as well. So I think the price difference that I actually need to accumulate will be 1.5. So I found 0.5 from Calvert-Lewin to João Pedro. The next question is going to be Brennan Johnson down to Semenyo or Rico Lewis down to a 4.0 like Van de Beek. So I won't be able to do it this week. I only have one transfer, just taking it 1 week at a time. But those are just my transfer plans for now, and Brennan with my captain, Cunha with the vice for now. But if Brennan has minutes in like the Europa League for some reason, if he starts, then the captaincy will just move to Cunha. That's how the way I'm looking for this week, and I'm happy to have Spurs attack. I wish I had more Man United attack.
Yeah, it looks good, man. I like your team, bro. Honestly, I think Cunha and Isak jumped on them early, and obviously they've returned the favor. It's just that you were unfortunate with the Johnson benching, but obviously long term, I mean, he looks to be a good pick.
Mm.
And yeah, man, overall good. Obviously, as you know already, how I feel the fact that you don't have Salah. So yeah, should we move on to the next team, which is FPL Stocks Game Week 10 review?
Yeah,
So you got 56 points. Obviously, you had Raya with 3, Davis with 10, Lewis 1, Gabriel 2, Foden and Bimo blank, and then obviously you got Rogers 9, Palmer blank 6 points, and obviously the forward line everyone blank except for Solanke.
Let's move on to next week.
Yeah, all right. So this is your boss team for Gameweek 11.
Yeah, looking at Odin to Bruno, to be honest. And call me crazy, but I'm actually thinking about starting. I'm going to start Fabianski against ahead of Raya. If Palmer's out, Raya will start. Secondly, Leif Davis might get the start ahead of Rico Lewis because Tottenham are terrible at set pieces. Leif Davis takes all of Ipswich's set pieces, so I'm sensing an upset, and I think the swing would be crazy because loads of people are going to triple up on Tottenham for the fixture. And just imagine a world where Leif Davis gets an assist or two, and they keep a clean sheet against Tottenham.
Wow, that's
I don't.
crazy.
I don't think Rico Lewis keeps a clean sheet, so I feel like why not just take the risk in Davis in a world where if that happens, the point swing is going to be astronomical.
So in my situation, then okay, I'll get to my team. But okay, I mean, I hear you, but I just don't see there's a world that where Spurs don't score versus Ipswich, man.
Neither
I
do I.
Yeah,
understand,
exactly.
I understand that, but I understand the example you're going with, which is the Brighton. Like they did keep a clean sheet versus Brighton, but yeah, man, they're at home. Spurs at home. These guys are crazy, man.
Yeah, but
Are you
man,
looking to sell Davis? Like his fixtures have sort of moved. Like you had the Everton fixture, you had the Leicester fixture. Like this could be a time to move away.
no, I won't. I won't sell him just yet. He's just a rotation piece, to be honest. I just think that the set piece threat that they have, he takes them. He bombs up and down the pitch. I just think that Lewis might not even start in the first place. Secondly, I don't see them keeping a clean sheet
Mm.
against Brighton. So I don't see no way where Lewis gets a haul. Whereas I can see Leif Davis genuinely getting returns, and I feel like there's potential in one multiverse out of a million where Davis can actually get a haul. So I'm just gonna play him over Lewis, to be honest.
Fair
You're
enough.
dreaming, bro, but it's fine. It's all good. Either way, it's a tough situation. Just
We
cross your
we will
fingers.
see. We will see, won't we?
Anything on this Kanji? Otherwise, you're good.
Yeah, team looks great. It's just like, what's the plan for Salah or
Uh,
Saka?
we'll save that for the next game week.
Right.
Okay,
Let's move
cool.
on to my
No problem.
game week 10 team review. I've just about managed to retain my rank. My old rank was 4K and still 4K. 51 points. Sanchez blank as K as usual, giving up, making a stupid mistake, conceding. Backline horrendous. Konate getting off injured. Lewis benching. So there's a lot of surgery needs to be done on my backline, considering Lewis. You don't know, you can't predict Pep, to be honest. So and then obviously midfield, Rogers saving the day, and obviously more keeping the faith in him. He delivered as a captain, and Palmer unfortunately blanked, and obviously Chris Wood, Mr. Consistent, saving me every week. So yeah, just pretty happy to be honest to be where I am still. It's just about making the right decision right now and continue to evolve and push forward. So yeah, let's move on to my game week 11 team selection. I've got Fabianski. I'm playing ahead of Sanchez because obviously I don't expect Chelsea to keep a clean sheet. Whereas Everton, I mean, they're in shambles right now. I don't see anyone scoring. At the same time, West Ham has been extremely poor defensively. So just pick your poison, to be honest. Um, and yeah, so Fabianski, and then you got Lewis, who I'll put most likely sell. This is my bust team, by the way, guys. I'm currently planning transfers to sell Delap as well as Lewis. So I'm looking to downgrade Lewis to any of the cheap 4.5 million to below defenders, and Delap to any, I guess, any 6 million and under forward. So yeah, like Gabriel Konate, they will stay in my team, and Bimo, Semenyo, Palmer, and Salah is going to be the obviously starting midfield, and they will rotate with Rogers. And you got Wood and Haaland, and Delap most likely be gone. And what do you guys think? Do you guys think I should give Delap one more game?
I do.
Can you?
I mean, it depends if you're gonna move to somebody that has a good fixture and you're gonna bring them in anyway. You know.
Yeah, I don't think I'm moving to someone that has a good fixture. If I'm being honest, if I'm going to Welbeck, he does have a tough fixture on paper, which is C. So
I
Yeah,
would
man.
hold the lab then. Like Spurs have no defense on paper. Their defense isn't that good. We never rated them. Their main center backs are out. Just hold them, bro.
Yeah, I agree because you go to international break with 3 transfers, you can make a lot of decisions based on what you've seen, and there's a lot more information you can gather. But it's just that I don't know if she's gonna start, and nor do I know Lewis is gonna start. That's the doubt. If I would have known Delap was gonna start regardless, then I would have a bit more confidence. But yeah.
Yeah, it also gives me an extra week to see if I can change your mind on Holland, you know?
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly. That's another one. Yeah, that.
Yeah, you should roll, man. You should roll
Yeah.
because the way you operate is if Haaland blanks versus Brighton and Tottenham, I feel like you will get rid of him. So if you roll to the international break with 3 free transfers, then it gives you more flexibility to actually bring in the likes of Isak, Solanke, Watkins if you want, Jackson,
Mm.
Havertz, Cunha. Yeah, so just roll, man. Delap's got a good fixture. I don't care what the fixture ticker says. That's a good fixture for attackers, to be honest, without Van de Ven and Romero anyway.
It's just that I don't know if he's gonna start himself in it. That's the only worry I have. But yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Mm.
I think that's it, boys. Let me know what you guys think on the comments below, boys. What moves I should make, what defenders or what forwards. Currently, I'm looking at Raul and Welbeck, and defenders maybe Mazraoui or Lewis Hall. Or yeah,
What's the comments
Yeah,
been saying
100%.
throughout the video? Has there been many?
there has been few, but not that many. So we do encourage you guys to comment, guys. That way we get more exposure, and obviously we appreciate all the support. Yeah,
100%, bro. But yo, I think this pod was probably our best one. I know it took so long, but like the
yeah,
conversations that we have are so priceless, man. I love them.
yeah. Exactly. Same. It's good to debate and pick each other's brain. To be honest. So yeah,
Yeah, I think we gotta find a way to like make the pod a little bit shorter. But apart from that,
yeah,
bro, this was amazing tonight.
yeah. Perfect. Exactly. So
100%, boys. Yo, thanks so much for your time and like let us know what your PFCs are in the comment section down below, and we'll catch you again sometime next week.
thank you,
All
people,
right,
man.
take care,
Peace
boys.
out.